Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Adorned with Dignity. Today we're on day 22. We're almost at the halfway point. Today we're going to start getting into the introduction to the teachings of the Gedolim and the Rabbanim, and it states the importance of listening to the Gedolim. And it says, since the morals of the outside world have fallen so low, we have inevitably become confused about the connotation of modesty and beauty. Therefore, we need to turn to the Gedolai Yisrael, the Torah leaders, to guide us. Very true, right? I've said this before in previous shirim. Our definition of modesty sometimes is really, I don't know where we're deriving the definition of modesty. For sure, it is not the same level that was the previous generations, even by the standards of the Goyim. There was a time that even the Goyim, this was, a well-known concept. And really, I think if any of the grandmothers or great-grandmothers of any Yidden or non-Yidden, a Goyim of the Goyim, if they were to see the standard that we've fallen to, I think they would just be horrified. I mean, it's really something. So it says, indeed, they have helped us to meet the enormous challenges of the trials of our generation by establishing binding rules for modesty. Therefore, men and women must obey the words of the Torah leaders, even if they don't understand them. As the Torah says, you should be careful to do everything according to what they teach you, and you should not deviate from the words they tell you, not right or left. And the Sefer HaChinuk teaches that this is referring to the Rabbanim in each generation, and the Ramban explains that even if you think in your heart that they're mistaken, and the matter seems as simple to you as the way you know you're right from left, do as they command. The Sefarno adds, even if they show you that your right is your left and your left is your right, you must listen to them. Now, this is something that really comes up, I think a lot in this generation, probably more than ever before, because, everything is an upside down world. And sometimes what we think is correct is not correct. And we know this all the time. How many times sometimes we fight the battle. We fight the battle only to find out that we were mistaken. And you wholeheartedly, you truly believe that was the amass. And it turns out it wasn't. And a lot of times this happens. This is what's the great thing about when you have a Rav, that because the fact that they do know the path, because they've studied and they've been guiding people on this path for a long time, and they've seen this behavior time and time again. And the Rabbanim of this generation, let me tell you something, really, it's so sad that they probably have the least respect of all the Rabbanim that have ever come through. There's such disrespect for their advice. And they have, I think, in this generation, the hardest jobs ever. I don't know that there's ever been such chutzpah in the world as there is now. So it says, indeed, through listening to our Gedolim, we're fulfilling a mitzvah from the Torah, and we're displaying emunah achamim. Through this, we submit ourselves to Hashem and accept upon ourselves the yoke of Shemaim. Now, again, I spoke about this in one of the Paleoets episodes. And I had said, first of all, Hashem's already given them the authority to make fences, to make rules, all right? Not dispute it. So, again, we just seem to think that because it didn't come from Hashem himself, that, that the words we're listening to didn't come from Hashem himself. But what did come from Hashem was the authority to make fences. And when we have one of Hashem's representatives in front of us, authorized representative in front of us, it is no different than when a king sends out a representative with his decree, with his words, with his will, with his intention, whatever it is that he's bringing. And as if we're saying we don't accept it, we don't care, blah, blah, blah. So in essence, what you're saying is that it's not the Rabbanim you're going against, you're going against Hashem. And I think people don't make that connection. And I don't think that they realize the severity of what it is when you're literally spitting on the Rabbanim and the Gedolim. Even if it is if you don't understand something, Write it out, because a lot of times this happens time and time again. We think we are right. We think we have the amass, and we find out later on that we were mistaken. So now the Sefer is going to close out today's lesson kind of with a a little synopsis, because we're getting ready. We're right at that halfway point. So now the water is getting ready to start, getting a lot warmer perhaps for some people. So it says the intention of the upcoming lessons. And it says the purpose of this book is to educate the public and reveal information about the topic of head coverings that was previously unknown to most people. The facts were taken from reliable, trustworthy sources such as the Gemara, Sepharim, and statements of the Gedolim, many of which were heard firsthand by authors of the Sepharim, and which they are written. And sometimes we may have an inspiration to elevate our level of covering of hair, yet wonder why our Rav or different Ravs do not speak against certain type of head coverings or inspire women to upgrade this area. We must realize that some Rabbanim, although they are of the opinion that a certain type of head covering is not ideal, they cannot come out strongly against it, because they think their followers are not on a level to obey such a ruling. And the Rav Chaim Kanievsky Shlita stated that there's no excuse to be negligent in a certain mitzvah, even if one sees that great people are negligent in this area. May Hashem grant Siyatas Dishmaya to help her gain knowledge and strength to enable her to come close to him and to conduct herself in her personal life according to his will. So I just want to, in closing, just bring out, especially based on this last paragraph, again, we're getting ready to get to some, topics that probably have fueled a lot of contention over the years. And again, there is always this question why the Rabbanim are not coming out more strongly. And they have their reasons. One of them is because they think that some of the followers are not, some of the women are not at a level. But what I would challenge you today, because listen, I'm one of you, right? And I'm there. So what I find a lot of times is that a lot of people, this seems to be their fallback. I'm not ready. It's like their default answer to everything. And that is true. There's a time when you're not ready. 1 year later, you're still not ready. 2 years later, you're still not ready. 3 years later, you're still not ready. 4 years later, and it becomes this default answer. And I think that a lot of times they've drawn the line in the sand and they say, I will not move past that. And I think, and it's not just in Kisurosh, it's not just in that, it's not just in tznuis. I think it's in a lot of things that we do in our life. We just say, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And I think, there's a lot of this political correctness, and we just accept that, and we accept it for ourselves. I think most of all, that sometimes when we say we're not ready, we accept this as our, it's almost like we become politically correct for ourselves, and we don't push ourselves any further than that. Because heaven forbid we should, offend anyone. Heaven forbid we should, push ourselves to do and want to be better. And it's like this generation, we have this mentality that it's whatever, it is what it is. And that's, time's running out. I'm for sure, I'm 100% for sure know that will not hold up in the Beit Din of Shemaim. But the thing is that, I think everyone always thinks we have tomorrow, we have later on, and that's not the case. Life can change in an instant, and everything could be over. And we live in a time that is so very true, but it doesn't even need to be cataclysmic. It could be in your own life. And then what, Habibi? Then what? Time is so precious, and I really pray for everyone that everyone comes to Shemaim with all of their days full. And, it's a tough road. It's a tough road, but Hashem's with us. And it really is a great thing to be in this generation. I know it seems very dark. I know it seems like there's nothing but destruction and chaos around us, but you have no idea. We are part of that redemption. The redemption. We're part of that, and you have your part in it as well. And everyone can be a part of that great history. And I pray that when when it's recounted in Shemaim, that when they come to your story, it should be remembered for good. It should be remembered as a great thing, that you did great things. And we can all be in Shemaim and say, remember those battles, and we did it with Hashem's help. We made it through. We did it. We were that generation. What is zechus? What nachas it would bring, right? To not only Hashem, but to us as well. We did it. We were part of that. That's so special. So that's it for today. And I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.